So let me see where we're at here in the Zohar. We are on page Kuf Pei, according to me. And the Zohar says like this. He said, Ugudugmas kol elu shemus tzadikim, so we had the split with the psik between them and the names. Yesh tam mapsik bein shnei shemus kefulim, because there's a tam in between, which is called a psik, and it interrupts between the two names. So he said, for Hashem, that one, psik time b'gabaichu, this one also has this psik. Kach gam b'shnei shemus havayach aniskarim b'pasuk. Be'inin hamshach shlosh esrei midu shal rachamim b'tzah Hashem kel racham b'chanim, like that. So midu shal rachamim l'zer anpin yesh tam mapsik bein shnei hashemos l'hora shehem shnei shemos shal shnei partzufim shonim. That's really what it comes to teach us. He said, ki shem k'bayach harishon hu de erik anpin v'shem k'bayach hasheni hu de zer anpin. Now he's been saying this now, and so we're moving along. He said a couple of times the same idea about the psik. So what's the difference between the two? He said, the first one is complete. It's referring to Erik Anpin. So the last one is called Basra Shlim Bekuhu. Who's there Anpin? What does that mean? So first we've been saying that the first one is always shlim and the second one is not. What's this mean? He says that the zer anpin is shalem because it's tzadadim dahainu shehu kol barachmim bedin gam beyachad. So here he means to say that it has several parts to it, or really has these two opposites. Behisker Moshe Rabbeinu Shnecha b'Shemos yachad. So why does he put the two together? Havaya havaya. Ki arachmim shal shem kavaya harishon de Erik Anpin, mamtik es adinim b'charon av shal zer Anpin, which come from zer Anpin of Anpin. Shehu shem kavaya hasheni, which is the second one. Umabara Moshe, so they want to sell the Hashem is the concept of the first one sweetening the second one. The Moshe ba'asa dinner. So ki Moshe, where was Moshe at this time? Ki Moshe Rabbeinu hizker eshnei shemus havaya yachad. He put them both together. Bisman shenis order the Rabbah chachotem v'charon av, at a time when those dinim in the nose are kindled, shall zer anpin machmas chet egel, because of the chet of the egel. Am lenachta alone meratik gedisha of rachamim is a rachamim lezer anpin. She'az Amr as a shlosh esrei midu shal rachamim. He brings out the shlosh midu shal rachamim, which really come from Erik Anpin, el kel racham b'chanim, etc. Kadei lahorid as shlosh esrei midas arachamim. In order to do that, shall Erik Anpin lamata hazer Anpin. Kadei lahamtik v'levasim as adinim akashim. In order to be able to sweeten, to perfume, to bring them a good, this interesting perfuming. So as dinim akashim, kadei sheyimkol zer Anpin, the bnei Yisrael, so that the zer Anpin should be able to have forgiveness, bring forgiveness. The bnei Yisrael as avona egel, that sin that he did with the egel. So what does he want to say? The sin is there, so therefore he wants to bring down both sides. He wants to bring back the white side and the red side. He wants to bring them both down. The power of Moshe, kama godol kochu shal Moshe. The aches mekilin the rachman the sata, he's able to bring, in the midst of a situation like this, rachman is downwards. Shall chorid as haaretz shlosh esrei midu shal rachamim shal Erik Anpin lamata el zer Anpin. Ki Moshe Rabbeinu hoya harishon shal chorid rachme Erik Anpin lamata, because he's the first one that actually brought the rachamim of Erik Anpin down. So what he said, he hoya risha harishon, so he's the first one to be able to bring rachmanis down. All the tzaddikim that came before them, they weren't able to do this. So he means to say that in the midst of din, which is going to be by the egel, he was also able to nullify to a certain extent by being a rachamim at the same time. For Omer, and he said, if we say like this, But is gale atika bezer anpin. So when a tika reveals himself in zer anpin, when the light, when the Rachmanis part of the nose comes, ha'elyon shall erik anpin, ha'nikra atika b'chaytim shall zer anpin, kula barachme is chazon. Oz, when he's able to pull down that side of the nose, so to speak, Azai called Balei Hadinim and Roing the Tachtoine Barachamim, that you see that the dinim come down, but they have mercy as they're down. I guess that's what it called, Balei Hadinim, Nirim, the Tachtoine, they appear to be, to those, us, let's say, in the lower worlds, Barachamim, they're merciful. Como Erik Anpin, just like Erik Anpin, and ve'ein l'shluke adin koich lepoil ba'olam hazeh ba'olam shum din klal, and the Bali Adin can't do anything. V'hotam b'cha'ishtikich. So he says the dini ha'chaytim, the dinim in the nose shall zer Anpin nishkachim, they quiet down b'nishkatim, b'mekomim, right where they are. In other words, they don't come out; they stay there. Ve'eshach l'sinanu l'nafik, and the fire and the smoke doesn't come out. But they go back and they become swallowed up in their root, which I guess is in the nose. Because I'm not sure. All of this has to do with the hara that's coming out of the chaytim elyon shel erik anpin. Kamadat Amar, like you say like this, Kamoshin Emar. So this is the phrase I get. I think Rabbi Nachman quotes this in the Kuti Maran. He says, he lost in my prayer, Echdam Loch, I'm going to nose it to you. Pirush Sha'erik Anpin, Omer Lezer Anpin, this is a conversation between those two. Omer Lezer Anpin, Hatehila V'chadashevach, Shalachedim Shalihu. So the real praise, and he says what's the word? Tehillah, the prayer and the praise is really from the nose. She'a'ir, that I will cause it to shine, min oras ha'chaytim shali, I will cause them to shine from my nose, so I guess he's referring to Erik Anpin, ha'chaytim shalach, into your nose, which is the nose of Zer Anpin. Kedei lebasem as a gevura v'chadinim shebechut that are in your nose. So this is all this idea. So we learn like this: betrin nukvin de chutama, and the two nostrils of the nose. Ki be'ez za'am, when they run off, when there's a tremendous amount of anger and punishment getting ready. Az ha'esh v'ha'ashan ha'kolula b'choydim, and then the fire, the smoke that are in the nose. Yotze b'shnechem v'nikve ha'choydim, they go out into the two nostrils of the nose. That's where they're at. But the nose, that is looking at it, you have two openings there. They don't go out together. Bechad nukva nafik tanana lohit. So in one side of the one nostril, which I'm assuming that means the left side, no, he doesn't say that. He says it's the right side. Yotza ha'ashan, that's where the smoke comes out. When it's lit and it's burning. What happens? When that smoke and fire starts coming out, then the dinim are all going downwards until it actually sinks in to the opening, or that is the hole of the great depth. What is the great depth? He says shuhu sitra achra. The klipa's noga debria, which is actually in the bina. Let's just say how he got to this, but he says that's a fact. Is that where is the Sitra Achra located? I guess he means that the Homa Rabbah, it's in the Bina of the Klipa. Klipa's Noga de Bria. That's a very complicated little thing there. To see the Klipa's Noga. It's not the deep Klipa. He says that the opening is in the Klipa's Noga de Bria. Okay, so I'm not sure how we got to that and what it means, but let's moving on. But what I do now, just trying to analyze, is that Bina goes with Bria. And here we're calling about the Klipa Noga, which is not the deep Klipos, but I think maybe we learned this, I'm not sure. that in the bottom part of the Klipa Noga, that's where the opening is to get down. I think that's what it goes, but my opinion. And the other one, which is the other opening of the nose, Nafik Isha, then the fire comes right out of the Oki Bishalavoy that burns everything up from its flames. And Menakev Echad Shalachaitim, Shuhanekev Asmole, which is the left side, Yotza Ha'esh, that's where the fire comes out. First, the right side, he says, is fire and smoke, or smoke and fire. Here it's just fire, because Shuhu Sorev Bishalhavav. So Bishalah, I guess it's Bishalhavin, Havav. So with its flames, it burns everything up. This is a more severe type of din than what came out from the smoke, which had fire in it on the right nostril. And they cause themselves to become kindled in 1,000 v'arba ma albim. Now we had I don't know if he does it here or if he did it previously, where he breaks down the 1,400 where it comes from. So he said, so it actually blazes out into 1,400 different universes. So these are actually the lights of the hidden gevuros, the inyan mispar elef v'arba meyosu. Now that was also, before we get to this, he says that was, he has an inyan of gevuros ne'olomos, hidden gevuros. So I think they probably need a little explanation, but there isn't one. The inyan mispar elef v'arba meyosu. So how do you get the number 1,400? Kishor she'esh hu b'chamesh gevuros she'hem b'sod he osias mansapach. So what he's going to do is going to take the 5 gevuros and multiply by the gematria of mansapach, or olad b'minyan par. Come to number 280. Multiply 280 by 5, v'gumo came. Gam call a gevura b'midachamesh gevuros. So then comes out that every one of the gevuros, of the 5 gevuros, each one of those gevuros, kol b'socho as kol hache osias mansapach. So each one of the 5 has a mansapach in it. V'nimsa shechamesh gevuros hem he pamim par. So therefore we see that the gematria of mansapach is 280, and that what you're putting together is the 5 gevuros, hein he pamim par, ha'ola yachad, to put them together, what do you get? The misbar elef v'arba meos, it comes out to be 1,400. So he says that the b'star is smaller on the left side, v'kol elu ne'achazav v'nishrash b'zecha b'esh, shehu b'sad is small. So all of these 1,400, I guess they're worlds of dinim, they come out of the left nostril. Small shel hachoitim. Uvakulim nispasha de mislachev eish hayotze, and all of them there is a fire that comes out min hachoitim. Uman the garim the karva bahai, va'adam hagorim al yedei of a noisev the karva the zecha b'eish. As a person, he's telling us that if you do enough bad things, you're getting close to that fire. You actually, I don't know, in some way, I mean spiritually and physically, that you're getting closer to that fire. So it causes them to come nearer and to be spreading down below. This gevuros that come out from the fire shall nekev asmoli shall achaitim. As mischazek eish hagavuros matokev, so then they come out really powerfully. Ikri eish yudke vavke, so it's called by the name of the fire of Hashem. V'nikr b'pasuk eish havaya, so it's also called the eish, that word eish havaya. What's that about? Isha de achlo v'okid kol shar ishim, this is the fire that consumes all other fires. V'nikra eish ha'ocheled v'sorfa kol shar ha'isha, so it's called the eating, the consuming fire, and it consumes all the rest of the fires. Machmas rov tokfa, because it is so strong. So he said, V'ai isha, let's go and look at this fire. V'zeh ha'eish ha'yotzecha min ha'nekev ha'smola, that comes out of the left nostril. Shal chotim zer antben. Lo is basem ela be'isha de madbecha. It can only be sweetened in one way, and that's through the fire of the mizbeach. In this basem, it can't become perfumed and sweetened Ela al yedei eish haboyer al gabe hamizbeach betachton, only through the fire that is burning on top of the lower mizbeach. Ki gavana edom shall eish hatachton midvasim mamtik as gavana edom shall adinim the eish ha'elyon. Let me read that again. That the red color that comes out of this fire, ki gavana edom shall eish hatachton. So he's saying the lower one, which here he means referring to the mizbeach. Mevasim, it perfumes and sweetens up as Gavana Edom Shaladinim de Esha Elyon, because it's coming down. He means to say that the upper fire is coming down in those dinim, but the sweetness of the Mizbeach is able to sweeten them. So the other nostril, he says, Shal Achoitim Zer Anpin, Shuhan Nekev Yamini, who is the right nostril. Lo is basem ela besinanda de kabarna de madbacha, can only be sweetened by the karbanos and the mizbeach. Enu nisbasem v'menimtak ela ad yedei ha'ashan ha'ola min karbanos. It only can come out through the smoke that rises up from the karbanos sha'al gabe ha'mizbeach that are on top of the mizbeach. Ki gavan ha'shachar shal ashan ha'karbanos. So now let's talk like this. He says the smoke that comes out of this smoke that's on the mizbeach, that's Ashan HaKarbanos, Mivasin and Mamtik as Gavan HaShachar, so it's a blackness that's able to sweeten the blackness that's coming down, Shaladinim, the Ashan HaElyon, that is coming from the upper smoke, the smoke of the nostril of Zeranpin. So this is like this. You have these two things going side by side. You have the Esha HaMizbeach, and it produces Ashan HaKarbanos. Oh, hatfilos, or now today we are talking about our prayers. Shehem bizman ezekah b'makah b'karbonos. Ma'orah lecha b'chasachayta me'elyon shel erikanpin. What they actually do is they bypass that. I'm not sure if it means bypass, but they cause the. Let me go back. Ma'orah lecha me'elyon just says that it causes the arousal of the upper nose. The nose of Eric Anpin. V'oz nizgalecha aras achotim Eric Anpin hayordos mamtekes hayoredes mamtekes as dini hachotim dezer Anpin, that is able to do that. So then he says v'kula talia b'chotama. So everything really depends on the nose. Ubisam umituk kol hagvuros v'radinish b'kol makom. Kulam toluya But bisum amituk adinim shal chotim zer anpin, all of them are depending on that sweetness that's going to come from the nose of zer anpin. Ki im mismatkim and atekas adinim shal ashan va'esh achotim zer anpin, because if you can sweeten the dinim that are in the nose of zer anpin, az misbasmim and mismatkim gam shar hagavuras v'chadinim. So if you could go there, whatever dinim are down below that, I guess that's what he means, will also be sweetened. Begin kach kasiv, because of this reason it's written, v'lefichach talo hakasev inyan bisu the mituk adinim. So therefore the they all depend. Let's say I'm not happy with the word talo, but so let's say v'lefichach talo hakasev inyan bisu. So they hang it. The concept of sweetening the dinim, amituk adinim, bebisim amituk hachotin zer anpin, really all depends on what we can do to sweeten the nose of zer anpin, which we understand can only be sweetened by the nose of Eric anpin. Kamosha amra be'inyan hakarbanos, it says like that, shaha'ala noach ala mebeich la'achar mabel, that he brought up then, v'yarach Hashem as reach hanikoach, that Hashem was able to smell the sweet savor. Pirush, ki hayareach, what does he mean by the hareach, the scent that we're talking about, shal eshem is beich v'ashan hakarbanos, alo lamalo lachot man zer anpin, it goes up into the nose of zer anpin. The Mashahoyim Bekodim, his order the Sadinim Besocho Charon off. So what we have over here is that there was an arousal of dinim that came from the anger that was in the nose of Zeranpin. Now becomes acceptable and sweet. The Hainish Naasa Nachas Ruach, it becomes a pleasant spirit, Lefon of Yisbarach, and before Hashem Yisbarach. V'nisbasba v'nimtaku kol the dinim, it sweetens, it makes perfumed all of the dinim, shenis is a hamabel that were awakened at the time of the flood. The kulo b'chotam battalion, because everything really depends on the nose. Now, I'm just thinking as he's saying this, is that he said previously that the nose of Eric Anpin really is what sweetens the dinim of Zer Anpin. Here he says that the smelling that you're talking about is the nose of Zer Anpin. In other words, he didn't put Eric Anpin in the mix. So let's go on. Ki hakol tolui b'chotim Zer Anpin. Everything really depends on the nose of Zer Anpin. La'archo chaychol tamba b'sinanda ve'isha sumako. She'im, let's see what he said. Hachotim hu hazer mereich ba'ashan hakabana. So if it's able to get smell, a scent from the karbanos, he says she'alim is beich. Azaz misasbin miskabsim kol dinim. It causes all the dinim to gather together. V'chozu the shorshim, and they go back to their root. Now he's not telling me what the root is, but he says, he does. V'chozach of the shorshim b'choitim zer anpin. It goes back to their root. They condense there in the nose of zer anpin. V'olda b'madrega achar madrega. Now he's answering my question. B'sod reach ad, which is the secret of the concept of scent. And the shorshim elyon, until it comes to the root that's up above them, which is erikanpin, v'chadinim misbasbin and mistakim, mismatkim, ubegin kach is kabel barava. So the kach miskabel az akabalas lamala baratzon. So then everything is accepted. Very happy about that. So here we come to the last lines of the of this particular piece. And it says like this, and what we see here, where they're talking about the idea of real anger. So this is the concept of this fire and smoke coming out of the nose. Where it says, and was kindled the anger of Hashem. So af, we understand, goes to nose too. And then it says v'chara af Hashem, and then it was kindled or burning the anger of Hashem. V'chara api bein pen yechera af Hashem, so that you shouldn't go start angering Hashem. Kula b'zer anpin itmar. All of these things are talking about zer anpin, because zer anpin is the dispenser of din. V'lo b'atika, not talking about Eric anpin. Kol eilach ha'pasuka b'medabrim rak b'zer anpin, v'lo be'erik anpin ha'nikra hatika, shehu erik anpin, ve'ein bo chalila, God forbid, inyan charon af ka'amor la'el, as we said before. And that is the shir today. Have a wonderful Shabbos, Rebbe. Thank you so much for learning with me. Kol tov.